ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲಿರುವ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗಣ್ಯರಿಗೂ ಮತ್ತು ಈ ಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನೆರೆದಿರುವ ನನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗೆಳೆಯರಿಗೂ ನನ್ನ ಬಾಪೂಜಿಯ 150th ಬರ್ತ್ ಸೆಲೆಬ್ರೇಷನ್ಸ್ ನನ್ನ ಶುಭಾಶಯಗಳು. ನಾನು ಕುಡ್ಲದಿಂದ ಹೋಗುವಾಗ ಭಾಳ ಜನರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಬಾಯ್ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಈಗ ಇವತ್ತು ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನೂ ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಸಮಾರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನನಗೆ ಪ್ರಥಮದೇ ಬಹಳ ಖುಷಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಈ ಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ಯಾರು ದೊಡ್ಡ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಗಳು ಯಾರಿಲ್ಲ. ನನ್ನ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿರುವ ನನ್ನದೇ ಆದ ಸಿಬ್ಬಂದಿ ವರ್ಗದವರು, ನನ್ನದೇ ಆದ ಸಿವಿಲ್ ಸೊಸೈಟಿ ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ಸ್, ಭಾಳ ಸಾರ್ವಜನಿಕರು ಕೂಡ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ಪ್ರಥಮದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೀತಿಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ನಾನು ಕನ್ನಡ ಕಲಿತಾ ಇರೋ ಐ ಲರ್ನ್ ಕನ್ನಡ. ಮಂಡ್ಯದ ರೈತರು ನನಗೆ ಕನ್ನಡ ಹೇಳಿಕೊಟ್ರು. ನಾನು ಯಾವುದೇ ಬುಕ್ಕಿಂದ ಓದಿಲ್ಲ, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ವೇದಿಕೆ ಕನ್ನಡ ನನಗೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಬರಲ್ಲ. ಬಹುಜನ ಕನ್ನಡ ಭಾಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಆದರೆ ವೇದಿಕೆ ಕನ್ನಡ ನನಗೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಬರುವುದೇ ಇಲ್ಲದ್ರಿಂದ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಒಂದು ಪರ್ಮಿಷನ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ನಾನು ನನ್ನ ಭಾಷಣವನ್ನು ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸ್, these are testing times. We are witness to a time in which many of us are often asked to prove our nationalism, time and again by innovative methods. Sometimes you are explicitly asked to say a slogan in the praise of Bharat Mata, or many innovative ways. I ponder like how they keep inventing these things. Recently, not very late, I have been suddenly called an anti-national. This is after 10 years of government service, public service. On a single day, I became an anti-national in this country. Even though I was aware that this was a conditioned response by a system by which by this time, I was sensing what is happening. But then it started a chain of thought in me. What is this nationalism all about? Is it something which is not inside us? Is it something which we don't have? Every one of you inside this hall have or has in their blood. It has been coming from a very small age to us. But I have never thought about it. I was very curious to know what the father of the nation, Mohanchand Karamchand Gandhi ji, I hope he still is the father of the nation. One has to be very updated these days, you know. I hope so. Had to say about this. What did he think about nationalism? I have known him as the person who has single-handedly, been the face of this country. I would call him a very, very authentic, global figure. I have heard Martin Luther King talk about him. I heard Mandela talk about him. And so when Bapu says this is nationalism, I have a torch of saying what is nationalism. I hope all of you will agree with this. So I just wanted to know, what did Bapu think about nationalism? Have you seen this movie Munna by MBBS? Many of us would have seen. The new generations would have, the millennials might have got an effect from that movie about Gandhi. In that movie, we have the hero, Sanjay Dutt. Whenever he is in a state of despair, he talks to Gandhi. Gandhi suddenly comes from behind and then talks to him. He will converse and then he will take a decision. I am this Munna Bhai. I got introduced to Gandhi in 2001 when I prepared for civil service. Let me be frank about it. I have always known him as the father of the nation. I've always felt, he is one of the guiding spirits of this country, but I have not read him in a thorough way. But in 2001, that was the time when I was preparing and all, I had a very, very deep introduction to Gandhi. Since then, I have shared a love-hate relationship. Let me say, it's not only love. With Gandhi, you can love, you can hate, you can discuss with him, you can target him, anything you can do with Gandhi. So I have always shared my love-hate relationship with Gandhi. But today I have a disclaimer to be made. Number one, I am no authority on Gandhi. Let me be very clear about it. I am that average Munna Bhai who knows Gandhi, the philosophy of Gandhi, the spirit of Gandhi. So if I make some factual mistakes, I have a lot of senior Gandhians sitting in front of me. Many of you would be knowing much more about the facts. Please feel corrected. Please feel happy to correct me. So I am not even claiming any authority on the factual position. But I am going to just today talk about what I understand about Gandhi. It is very personal to me, and we may very well agree to disagree on that. And in this hall, Gandhi is like an ocean. We cannot discuss everything. I want to keep it specific to only one area. What was nationalism to Gandhi? What was it about? For him, what it meant. Now before that, we have to understand two things. I will not dwell in theory. I am not going to go very deeply into all his writings and everything. I am just going to give a small idea through his some very important life events. To be very specific, I will be quoting some 4 life events and his own writings. I am not going to say anything. I am not going to interpret. I am going to just narrate certain writings of what he did and some people what they wrote about Gandhi at that time. Before even exploring what was Bapu's idea of nationalism, we have to understand what is nationalism in a very, very theoretical sense. And also we have to understand this idea of nationalism to Bapu didn't come on a single night. Onde ratriyalli bandilla. Tamma life jotege, he has done a lot of experiments, lot of understandings, lot of self-thought, and it came through a series of experiments from South Africa to Naukali. Let us explore nationalism. There are 2 entities, the nation and the state. Eradu vishaya ide. Nation, state. State is a political concept. Nation is a cultural and a psychological concept. The state, what we call as state, it has 4 elements: the population, a territory, a government, and sovereignty. State andre ee 4 ವಿಷಯ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ವಿಷಯ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಹೋದರೆ ಕೂಡ the state doesn't survive. The state should have a population, should have a territory, a government, and sovereignty. On the contrary, what is a nation? Nation is simply a group of people who have very strong sense of unity and common consciousness. ಈ ವಿಷಯ ತಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡಿ. We should understand this properly. A state is a political. It has territory, it has boundaries, it has law, it has systems. But nation is inside the conscience. If a group of people be together feel one, that is a nation. There are many nations which are in 2 states. There are many states which have many nations inside. This is only political theory. I am not saying my own interpretation of it. I always would like to explain in the context of a family. Inside the family, we have our father, mother, son, daughter, daughter-in-law. Is there any law to bind them? Is there any structure to bind them? No. We feel as a family. We feel, that feeling is there. Son might be staying somewhere, far, far away, but he is still a son. Brother might be staying in some other place. He might look completely different from me. He might practice completely different things to me, but he is a brother. It is a feeling. Nation is a feeling. When we have a feeling, then we form a nation. The state is formed by agreements, state is formed by wars, state is formed by various rules and regulations, but nation is formed from the heart. I hope you understand this concept very well, because it is very critical to understand Bapu's idea of nationalism. A common territory, common language, common history, common culture, and common political aspirations. These are the elements which help form a nation. But none of these are absolutely essential, and it keeps changing. How a nation becomes a nation keeps changing. Let me tell you, when I thought we were a nation, I have not seen the past history and past history. There is a difference between nationalism formed in European countries and formed in countries which had the colonial oppression. When my brother in Karnataka, my brother in Tamil Nadu, my brother in Kashmir, my brother in Delhi stands with me on a fight against somebody, the British, I have a common feeling with him. I think we are a nation. And that is how my idea of nation formed. Because we all stood together. We all stood together in this great fight to get us freedom. And that is how I think many of you would also had this idea of nationalism. Why does a person from Tamil Nadu think a person from Bihar is my brother? Because we all have stood in this fight together. I might not have seen him, I might not have met him, I don't know his language, I don't know his culture, I don't know his faith, but I think he is my brother. Like in a family, I feel he is my nation. Now, having understood this concept, one has to understand the premises of Bapu's growth. How did he come to this concept of nation? Everyone is aware of this Harishchandra story. Gandhi ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ನಾವು ಹೇಳುವುದು ಹರಿಶ್ಚಂದ್ರ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ. ಗಾಂಧಿ ಯಾವಾಗ ಸತ್ಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ when he got the first enlightenment about truth, we know this Harishchandra story. I am not going to tell it again. But for me, as a boy was growing, Gandhi was my Harishchandra. I heard the Harishchandra story. I knew Gandhi saw Harishchandra story. He heard Harishchandra story and he became a staunch follower of Satya. And so, I understood the concept of Satya. I am sure for the millennials, the people, for the children that we have now, same would be the case. If Gandhi has followed that, then that must be it. So, Gandhi himself symbolizes a lot to us. But the real understanding of Gandhi, I think, came during his South African days. ನಮಗೆ ಯಾವಾಗಲೂ ಗಾಂಧಿ 1915 ಭಾರತಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದ ಮೇಲೆ ಏನೇನು ವಿಷಯ ಮಾಡಿದರೂ ಎಲ್ಲ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ. ಆದರೆ ಸೌತ್ ಆಫ್ರಿಕಾದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ನಡೀತು, ಅವರು ಒಬ್ಬ ಯುವಕರಾಗಿ ಗ್ರೋ ಆಗುವಾಗ ಅವ್ರ ಮನಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಏನೇನಿತ್ತು, ಅವರು ಹೇಗೆ ಈ ಸತ್ಯಾಗ್ರಹ ಅಂತ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಬಿಗ್ ವೆಪನ್, ಹೌ ಡಿಡ್ ಹಿ ಫೈಂಡ್ and he showed it to the whole world is a big question, and this whole story happened in South Africa. It is very interesting to know. In fact, everybody knows this story of Balasundram. Anybody who has read Gandhi's Experiments with Truth, there is a chapter called Balasundram. How a person called Balasundram, who is a very poor laborer in South Africa, one day came to Gandhi, and he didn't even have the language or the courage to ask help. Gandhi was by then a big barrister trying to help the Gujarati merchants inside South Africa. South Africaದಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಟಾಲ್ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಜಾಗ ಇತ್ತು, ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ವಾಲ್ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಜಾಗ ಇತ್ತು. So Gandhi was arguing for the merchants, wealthy merchants. Then when Balasundram came, then Gandhi understood, first time he realizes, right, my fight has to be with these people. From the Natal Congress, first time they came out of the merchant class and went to the popular class. So everybody knows this story about Balasundram. I'm not going to tell that story. But there is one more interesting story. It is about C.K. Thambi Naidu, a person called C.K. Thambi Naidu. As I told, Gandhi is an ocean. We don't have to. There are everything in his life, whatever I am facing, everybody is facing, has all happened in his life. Do you all know Gandhi was badly beaten up inside the prison in South Africa by his own followers? Because Gandhi, there was a general called Smuts. He made a rule. General Smuts in South Africa had introduced a new law to register all the immigrant workers, all the immigrants. Like you must have heard the story of the national NRC. NRC is right now going on, registrations are going on, something very similar to that. Gandhi was appalled by this idea of taking an ID card and going around to show your identity. Much like our Aadhaar card or NRC, Gandhi found it totally demeaning to the Indian community. He even found it demeaning to the entire humanity. So he called everybody to defy these registrations. C.K. Thambi Naidu was the Josh guy, the youngster, and he is ready. Yes, I will do it. And then he went around and they protested. They said, let us not cooperate for this registration. What happened after that entire protest? Out of 7,000 Indians, only 200 has registered. Which means the call of Gandhi was very, very powerful and people didn't register. Smuts became damn angry. He said, now lock everybody up. I think they locked almost many of them inside along with C.K. Thambi Naidu. Now Gandhi was inside. Then Smuts called Gandhi for a negotiation. Let's negotiate on this entire thing. Gandhi went and then he accepted a negotiation. He said, okay, right, we will voluntarily register, but then you will have to repeal that law later. For which Smuts agreed. Gandhi came back. The traders, the people who went to jail with Gandhi, felt it was a betrayal. Now, if we all had to register, why did you call? Why did you make this call? Why did you make us all go inside prison? And one person in particular was damn angry with Gandhi. So he wanted to beat Gandhi up and he tried also. I'm just quoting the paper Indian Opinion from South Africa, reported on 15th December 1908. The context is how Gandhi was assaulted inside the prison and how Thambi Naidu saved him. I'm quoting, Mr. Thambi Naidu, engaged in the attention of Mir Alam, who rained blow upon blow on Gandhi, was fortunately, Naidu was able to ward off by means of an umbrella. Naidu carried an umbrella, so he warded that beating through an umbrella. Eventually the umbrella broke and one more blow felled Naidu to the ground, his head being gashed, and when he was on the ground, further blows were struck at him and he was considerably bruised. This I am quoting to say that Gandhi has faced this sort of issues right from his start. This is public life. That is how things happen. Then after this, after Gandhi's negotiation and everything, almost all the Indians registered, but Smuts, he went back on his word, and then the solution failed. The Indian community then held a mass meeting at which the registration certificates were thrown into a large cauldron and burnt. Satyagraha resumed. Thambi Naidu repeatedly defied the law and went to prison. While the Satyagraha continued, he never thought of any personal affairs, Thambi Naidu, but only of the struggle. This is what I wanted to actually highlight. During prison term, Thambi Naidu's wife, who was pregnant by that time, gave birth to a stillborn child. She gave birth to a stillborn child. The child was dead. And Thambi Naidu is inside prison. So, the anecdote I'm going to quote in the next paragraph is written by Reverend Joseph J. Doak. J. Doak was, along with Gandhi in South Africa, he wrote the first biography of Gandhi, called M.K. Gandhi, an Indian patriot in South Africa. Now, I'm just reading out what happened according to J.K. Doak. When the old offender, Mr. Thambi Naidu, the Tamil leader, was sent to prison for the third time to do hard labor for a fortnight, Mr. Gandhi came and suggested, we should meet and visit the sick wife together. I assented gladly. On our way, we were joined by a Maulavi and the Imam of the mosque, together with a Jewish gentleman. It was a curious assembly which gathered to comfort the little Hindu woman in her home. Two Mohammedans, a Hindu, which is Gandhi, a Jew and a Christian. And there she stood, her eldest boy supporting her, and tears trickling between her fingers. She was within a few days of the suffering of the motherhood. After we had bent together in prayer, the Maulvi spoke a few words of comfort in Urdu, and we each followed, saying what we could in our own way to give her cheer. It was one of the many glimpses which we had lately of that divine love, which mocks at boundary of creed and limits of race or color. This was the vision of Mr. Gandhi's ideal. This, I am saying, happened in South Africa. When he was a youngster, that is where he learned. We are only humans when we are together. I'm just going to highlight two aspects of Gandhi's nationalism. It is assimilation, which means we have to bring everybody together. And of course, the next thing you know, Gandhi never liked this Western society. The way in which industrialization was happening, the way in which commercialization was happening, the way in which people were fighting, he thought it was sheer greed. These are two pillars of his nationalism. One is his assimilation. He wanted to assimilate everybody. And secondly, he was very, very anti-modern. He never wanted India to be, after so many industries, and he had his own vision for India. So he said, God laid the foundation of my life in South Africa and sowed the seed of the fight of the national respect in South Africa. This is Gandhi in South Africa. For Gandhi, his notion of nationalism has been, at that time in India, there was this moderates and extremists who had their own idea about nationalism. Gandhi's nationalism was not like that, completely different. He had a nationalism which was a multi-class, caste, community movement of the Indians. Probably his daily insults in South Africa and the way he was treated, everybody knows the train story. I don't have to tell that, how he faced an insult inside a first class compartment. These are stories which are told. So all these insults made Gandhi, more assimilating. This is how his idea of the whole nationalistic concept came to know. Now I'm going to take you to another part of the history, very, very interesting part, which according to me, I still, cherish as the most important part of Gandhi's thing. Now I would like to take you to the days of non-cooperation movement. Now Gandhi has come back to India. February 5th, this non-cooperation movement was the first great movement because nobody believed Indians could gather. This big a country, this big language, how would they will gather? So in 1919, there was a Rowlatt Act which was brought, which was, very, very severe act, which Gandhi said we'll have to oppose. The Khilafat movement joined. So all of them, they said we'll put up a big fight. And Gandhi gave a call for non-cooperation. So all over the country, Indians went. They left their degrees, they threw away their prizes, they threw away their goods from the house, they burnt everything and then they said we are going for this non-cooperation movement. Whole India was excited. I just want you to go back to that time and imagine how it would have felt. Like, all of us trying to come together for the nation. Now that was, I hope I was in that period, and then an incident happened in Chauri Chaura. Everything was coming together. Everything was, it was seeming that the end is just there. Okay, we just have to cross some more time and this British will run away from this country. Then an incident happened in Chauri Chaura, a place in which there was a mob very peacefully agitating. There was some skirmish between police and the mob, satyagrahis basically. Then it turned violent. Then all the satyagrahis locked these 22 policemen inside the police station and then lit fire to the police station. Gandhi by this time was in jail. He was already arrested and he was in jail. And 22 policemen died in that incident. It is common knowledge that these agitations against the Rowlatt Act and non-cooperation movements was one of the brightest of the Indian freedom struggle. For the first time in history, the magic of Bapu in organizing the entire country towards mass movement succeeded. It was exciting time for the Congress and other leaders who saw this was possible. And after this incident, the news came to Gandhi. Without any notice, Gandhi called off the entire movement. He said, from today, stop this movement. I don't want one satyagrahi to come back and protest. I am calling off this movement. Everybody was surprised. Now what thing? What is this? What is happening? When so much of people have, like people like me, they have just left everything and came behind this man, and now he says, leave everything. I don't want this. He did not endorse this brand of nationalism which would propagate violence. Now you have to understand and appreciate his brilliance. He never appreciated this brand of nationalism with wee bit of violence. Now all of you must be knowing the Arab Springs which happened in 2010. So many Arab countries, the youngsters came to the ground and they overthrew Gaddafi, they overthrew Egypt, Hosni Mubarak in Egypt, they overthrew. These are dictators, strong dictators. But it all happened through violence, and still they are not able to find a solution. In Syria, you might see, still there is fight going on, war going on. That was the brilliance of Gandhi. He could have let this happen, but he always knew this nation would not form like this. So he said, stop this, I don't want. I'm quoting Gandhi. He says, the only virtue I want to claim is truth and non-violence. I lay no claim to superhuman powers. I want none. I wear the same corruptible flesh that the weakest of my fellow being wears, and is therefore as liable to err. I am liable to err like anybody. I don't want all these supernatural powers and everything. We will not become a nation like this. This was Gandhi's quote. He said, a satyagrahi should not only learn to oppose the oppressor with passive resistance, but also should learn to love him. Now, this is like way beyond our head. We always know we can fight somebody, we can oppose somebody. How do you love him? How do you love him and still fight? This was Gandhi's thought. According to him, this love for the oppressor is no sign of weakness, but is bravery and valor to the highest order. This was exhibited, what he said, you have to fight, but you have to love the oppressor also. Now that is the breed I want from my country fellow men. If you are following, my steps, and if you want to become this great nation, this is what I want from you. And I can, at this stage I can only, understand, but I was wondering what was the reaction at that stage from various leaders. So you always have a love-hate relationship with Gandhi, but this is sheer brilliance, Now, what valor and what, bravery he asked can be seen from one more occasion in Indian freedom movement. And I'm going to take you there. And when I read this, I want you to all to go to that time and imagine what it would have been at that time. This was exhibited in full galore by Indians, nationalist Indians, in the Dandi March of 1930. All of you know Dandi March. 1930, Gandhi said, there was a law where Indians had to pay tax for salt. Taking salt, you had to pay tax. Gandhi said, I'm going to break this. How? I'm going to walk from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi and take the salt out and let the British do whatever they want, but we will march. And along with him, 70,000 men marched all these 231 kilometers from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi. And he took the salt out. And immediately he got arrested. Obviously, many of the satyagrahis went into this. But the anecdote I'm going to quote is about an incident in a salt factory which was nearby called Darsana. After Gandhi took and Gandhi got arrested, Gandhi's idea was next to take over that Darsana salt factory and produce salt. What was his idea? So he said tomorrow, or when he gave a call, that after doing this we'll go there. When Gandhi got arrested, there was no leadership. Then Kasturba was there. Kasturba said, we will do it. So I'm just going to read out. I will try to recreate the scene. Please imagine at Darsana works, Satyagrahi is going to, make salt at Darsana in a very peaceful way. Imagine this is the factory. Satyagrahis are outside and there is a cordon of police standing on the corridor. There are around 200 to 300 policemen. Now, there was a reporter called Webb Miller who was from the New York Telegraph. He was there, standing in Darsana to see how these people will be doing. Gandhi was already arrested, so that part is over. Now I am just quoting what Miller wrote in the paper on that day. Kindly follow it. The scene at Darsana during the raid was astonishing and baffling to the Western mind, which is accustomed to see violence met by violence, to expect a blow to be returned and resultant fight. During that morning, I saw and heard hundreds of blows inflicted by the police, but saw not a single blow returned by the volunteers. So far I could observe the volunteers implicitly obeyed Gandhi's creed of non-violence. In no case did I see a volunteer even raise an arm to deflect the blows from the lathis. There was no outcries from the beaten Swarajists, only groans after they had submitted to the beating. So the Swarajists were coming one by one in a line, and police was in the same line. They were beating, they were falling. Next line comes, they were beating, they were falling. Next line comes, this was going on. Many times I saw the police vainly threaten the advancing volunteers. Police, how many people they'll beat? From here they're saying, hey, don't come, we'll beat. With upraised lathis. Upon their determined refusal to recede the lathis would fall upon the unresisting body. The volunteer will fall back bleeding or bruised and be carried away on a stretcher. Waiting volunteers, the people who are waiting volunteers on the outskirts of the pans often rushed and congratulated the beaten volunteers as he was carried off the field. It was apparent that most of the injured gloried in their injuries. People who got injured, they gloried in their injuries. See, my head was broken, my hand was broken. One leader said, these men have done a great work for India today. They are the martyrs of the cause. Now Webb Miller says, in 18 years of reporting in 22 countries, during which I have witnessed innumerable civil disturbances, riots, street fights and rebellions, I have never witnessed such harrowing scenes as in Darsana. The Western mind can grasp violence returned by violence, can understand a fight, but I found myself perplexed and baffled by the sight of men advancing coldly and deliberately and submitting to the beating without attempting defense. Sometimes the scene was so painful that I had to turn away momentarily. This was the courage that this was the nationalism that Gandhi expected from all of us. It was not about showing our strength. It is about showing our strength, but not about, the nationalism and the bravery and the valor that Gandhi expected from us, and we are all products of that particular valor which brought freedom to us and which gave this country to us. Finally, I'm going to, go to the last anecdote. This is a very serious anecdote from Gandhi's life. All this is done, after which Quit India movement was done. Many things happened, and the British also said, we are going to leave this country. Fine, you make your terms. This was a rejoicing movement for the country. In 1947 and 46, after a struggle of so many years, starting from the late 1800s to this day, it was finally the day which all of us expected. And where was Gandhi? What was he doing? Finally, during the hard-won freedom on the eve of 1947, Gandhi kept himself busy with riots in Calcutta. There was a big riot in Calcutta and other parts of the country because of the partition. He deliberately kept himself away from Delhi and walked all the villages of Bengal to stem the violence between communities. Following the Direct Action Day on 1946, the region had seen untold violence, many deaths. On October 19, after a report from Bidhan Chandra Roy on the situation, Gandhi decided to go to Navkali. Navkali is a place where there was terrible violence. In early November, he started his tour, which took 7 weeks of walking barefoot through these 47 villages. he put a base. There was a Dhobi's house which was already burnt in the riot. He said, I'm going to stay here only. I'm going to stay here and fast until these people stop fighting each other, until this violence stops. So Gandhi's weapon was fasting. So he said, I'm going to fast here. And he stayed there till January 1st, 1947. So a few days, later, independence happened and everything happened. But still, Gandhi at that point had no part to do with all this merry. He was still going about doing his job. I keep asking, in fact, Gandhi's presence in Calcutta and Navakali stopped the entire violence. This is what the history says. And even at that point, he was moving towards the whole concept of assimilation, and this nation doesn't survive if we are not together. Now, what would keep a man this busy in resolving suffering of human beings during a time when the entire nation is rejoicing its realization of the nationalistic fervor? What would keep a man at an age of 79 to take the blame of all these sufferings? He took the blame of all these sufferings. He said, see, this violence is happening because something is wrong with me. I had done something, so I have to, take this blame on me. And lay in fast as a penance, appealing to the masses to stop this madness. It was simply love for the humankind. So the idea of nationalism is not about flexing one's muscles all around the globe. It is rather standing up for the underprivileged and protection of the diversity of the society. Gandhi's idea of nationalism is not Chauri Chora when the Satyagrahis went and burned 22. It is Darsana. That is his idea of nationalism. His idea of nationalism was never Chauri Chora, never violence, never differentiating people from people. His nationalism was always what we showed in Darsana. So do not confuse state action with nationalism. State action can be many ways, but nationalism doesn't come like that. State cannot instill nationalism just by telling, can anybody make you feel a part of a different family just by putting laws? Can they make you a part of another family just by putting some rules and regulations? No, it has to be developed. Mere geopolitical agreements would not instill nationalism. Nationalism has to be nurtured in love and empathy. It has to be nurtured in love and empathy. Nationalism survives on diversity and enriching each other's lives. If there is no love, there is no good feeling, there is no bonding, there is no nationalism. Nationalism is a bonding force. It is never a divisive one. I finally summarize my speech by again quoting Gandhi, which he himself said, what I think is nationalism. I am just summarizing and finishing my speech with this. I want the freedom of my country so that, this is very interesting, so that other countries may learn something from my free country. When Mandela and Martin Luther King said, of course, they learned from our country, so that the resources of my country may be utilized for the benefit of mankind. He says, my country, the resources of my country should be useful for mankind, not Indians. Mankind. Just as the cult of patriotism teaches us today, that the individual has to die for the family. If a family requires, an individual may die. And the family has to die for a village. If a village requires, a family has to die. And the village for the district for the province, and province for the country. Even so, country has to be free in order that it may die if necessary for the benefit of the world. He says, I want my country to be free. For what? So that the mankind will learn from my country. And if requires to protect that mankind, my country should die. And for that, it has to be free. And that is why I am fighting for the freedom of this country. My love, therefore, of nationalism, or my idea of nationalism, is that my country may become free. And if need be, the whole of the country may die, so that the human race may live. There is no room for race hatred here. Let that be our nationalism. This is Gandhi himself. So I don't have to tell much. He has, for him, love of humankind is nationalism. Nationalism cannot be trivialized to what we see nowadays. I don't think it is right. I don't think that is justice to Bapu. I have continuously questioned, I have been continuously questioned whether Gandhi is relevant today. Gandhi ಇವತ್ತು relevant ಇದ್ದಾರಾ ಅಂತ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಇದೆ. In fact, the great man thought in 1940s only, during independence only, many Indians stopped listening to him. He thought he was irrelevant. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ his whole idea of the economic future of the country was totally thrown out. People didn't listen to him on the way that he wanted Indians to move forward. But I say, Bapu, you are more relevant today than in any other time in the modern history. You are more relevant to us and to our children. Humanism was Bapu's creed and religion, and that was his nationalism. It is only humanism. When we see all this, we only understand it was only humanism which Gandhi said was nationalism, and that shall and may be the guiding light for all of us. Thank you.
ಸೆಂಥಿಲ್ ಅವರಿಗೊಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ ಆ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಇರಬೇಕಿತ್ತು ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಆ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು 1919 ಕ್ಷಣ 1930 ಕ್ಷಣದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ಇರಬೇಕಿತ್ತು ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ನೀವು ಈ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದೀರಿ, ಅದೇ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಇದ್ದೀರಿ ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಚ್ಛೆ ಪಡ್ತೀನಿ.
ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅವರು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳಿಲ್ಲ, ಅವರು ಸಜೆಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಆ ಥರ ಇರುವಾಗ ನೀವು ಇರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ, ಇನ್ನು ಈ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಆ ಥರ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು ಅಂತ ನನ್ನ ಭಾವನೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
ಅದ್ಭುತ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಆಯೋಜಿಸಿದ ಸಂಘಟನೆಗೆ ನಾನು ಧನ್ಯವಾದ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ನಾನು ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಯುವಕರಿಗೆ ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶಕರಾಗಿದ್ದ ನಮ್ಮ ಸನ್ಮಾನ್ಯ ಸೆಂಥಿಲ್ ಸರ್ ಅವ್ರ ಹತ್ರ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಯಾಕಂತೇಳಿದರೆ ಇವತ್ತು ಗಾಂಧಿನ ಏನು ತತ್ವ ಮತ್ತು ಸಿದ್ಧಾಂತ ಯುವಜನರಲ್ಲಿ ಆದರ್ಶವಾಗಿ ಬೆಳಿಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಆ ತಳಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳು ಬೇಕಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ದಕ್ಷಿಣ ಕನ್ನಡ ಜಿಲ್ಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಗಾಂಧಿಯವರು ದಕ್ಷಿಣ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಭೇಟಿ ನೀಡಿದ ಈ ಪುಣ್ಯ ಸ್ಥಳಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಯುವಜನರಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ರೀತಿಯ ಒಂದು ಗಾಂಧಿ ತತ್ವ ಏನು ಅಳವಡಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವ ಒಂದು ಮನೋಭಾವನೆ ಇತ್ತೀಚಿನ ಸಂದರ್ಭಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇರೆ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ, ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ವಿಚಾರಗಳನ್ನು ನೋಡುವಾಗ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿರುವಾಗ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯ ಈ ವಿಚಾರಧಾರೆಗಳನ್ನು ಯುವಜನರು ತಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಅಳವಡಿಸಿಕೊಂಡು ಈ ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶಕವಾಗಿ ಬೆಳಿಬೋದು ಈ ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ತಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಅಡ್ವೈಸ್ ಕೇಳ್ತೀವಿ.
ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇದು. ಯುವ ಜನರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವಿಚಾರಣೆ ಬಂದಾಗ ನನ್ನ ಒಂದು ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಇದೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ನನ್ನ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂಗೆ ಈ ಎರಡೇ ಥರ ಜನ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಥಿಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ, ಅಂದರೆ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಮನುಷ್ಯರಾಗಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ಏನೋ ಒಂದು ಬದುಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ, ಏನೋ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಸೆಟ್ ದಾರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಾವು ಚಿಂತನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಮಗೆ ವಿಷಯಗಳು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ಬಹಳ ಮಾರ್ಗದರ್ಶಕರು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಹೇಳುವ ಸಂದೇಶ ಏನೋ ಅಷ್ಟು ಬಹಳ ಕಾಂಪ್ಲೆಕ್ಸ್ ಸಂದೇಶ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅದೇನೋ ರಾಕೆಟ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಮನುಷ್ಯರನ್ನು ಪ್ರೀತಿಸಬೇಕು, ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಯಾರಿಗೆ ಇಂಟೆಲಿಜೆನ್ಸ್ ಬೇಕು, ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿರೋ ವಿಷಯ. ಅಂದರೆ ಇವರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಪ್ರೀತಿ ತೋರಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರು ನನಗೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಈ ವಿಷಯವನ್ನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬ ಏನು ನಾಲೆಜ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬೇಕಿಲ್ಲ. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಥಿಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿಯನ್ನು ನಾವು ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲಿ ಪೋಷಕರು, ನಾನು ಸಣ್ಣ ಮಕ್ಕಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಶುಡ್ ಎನ್ಕರೇಜ್ ಚಿಲ್ಡ್ರನ್ ಟು ಥಿಂಕ್. ಎರಡನೇದು ಯುವಕರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಾವು ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಏನೂ ವಿಷಯ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅವರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಇನ್ನೂ ಕೂಡ ಅವರು ಎಲ್ಲರ ಮಾತು ಕೇಳಿಕೊಂಡು ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗೋದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಒಂದು ತಮ್ಮ ಸೆಲ್ಫ್ ಥಿಂಕಿಂಗನ್ನು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಸಾಕು. ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶ ಬೇರೆ ದೇಶಗಳ ಥರ ಇಲ್ಲ, ತುಂಬ ದೊಡ್ಡದು, ತುಂಬ ಜನರು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ತುಂಬ ಎಲ್ಲ ಥರ ಜನನೂ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈ ದೇಶವನ್ನು ಅಷ್ಟು ಸುಲಭವಾಗಿ ಯಾರೂ ಶೇಕ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ನನ್ನ ಪೂರ್ಣ ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಇದೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಯುವಕರು ಖಂಡಿತ ಈಗ ಬರುವ ಕಾಲಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ಟು ಬಿ ದ ಫ್ಲಾಗ್ ಬೇರರ್ಸ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ 100% ಕಾನ್ಫಿಡೆಂಟ್ ನಡೆಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ವಿಷಯನೂ ಅವರು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಖಂಡಿತ ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ ಒಂದು ಅವರಿಗೇ ಆದ ಒಂದು ಕೆಲವು ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ದೇ ವಿಲ್ ಡೂ ಇಟ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಡೂ ಮಚ್, ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಎನ್ಕರೇಜ್ ಥಿಂಕಿಂಗ್. ಮಕ್ಕಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಈ ಥಿಂಕಿಂಗ್ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿಯನ್ನು ಮೂಡಿಸ್ಬೇಕು ಅಷ್ಟೇ, ಅದು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಬೇರೆ ಏನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ.